Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and welcome to another episode of Media Matters by Anfield Index. Well, we're through into the hat for the next round. Was it the performance we wanted? There's probably a few question marks around that. Other things that happened on the night, not so great, but there's a lot of things coming up and 1,000,001 things to discuss. And I'm joined as ever by the renowned and the respected David Lynch. And David, even what's supposed to be a quiet week with the Carabao, there's always just things going on, and there's a next bit of madness coming up at the same time, isn't there?
What in terms of the fixture list?
Fixtures, things off the field. Yeah, there's always something, doesn't there?
Well, this is it. I genuinely kind of feels like, once you get the other side of that first international break, it's just wall-to-wall games, isn't it? And then obviously there's always news lines coming out, and because there's barely breathing time between the games, it's kind of just, everything's coming thick and fast. So it's quite good for us in terms of talking stuff to talk about in the podcast. Like, can't complain about that. But it's, this is really the busy time now, and it can't, outside of the international breaks, it's pretty much like this till May, isn't it, really, with Liverpool? So probably better get used to it.
True, yeah. There's not going to be a single bit of ease up. And I mean, sort of recounting back to Tuesday night, which seems like an eternity ago, but there is a lot happened even since then. We're into the hat for the next round. That's the positive. Probably the worst performance of the season. Is that too harsh?
No, it's probably is fair, to be honest. You give up chances. You maybe don't take your own as frequently as you might like, or create as much as you might like. I think I think it's probably fair to say probably the most open they've been this season as well in terms of giving chances up. So that's disappointing. But of course, you've got to probably look at the mitigation, which is 11 changes, albeit, Southampton themselves made 9 changes. But for them, I guess it kind of probably felt like a free hit, really, and you kind of sense that in the performance. And obviously, I always say I think it is easier for them. You make 9 changes, you go away to Anfield, you know very much what your job is, which is to really sit in, kind of, ruin the game a little bit, and try and score goals on the counter. So it kind of made their job a little easier. Whereas for Liverpool, you've got to make the game, you've got to kind of break down a low block, and that's despite having all these changes and all these players that haven't played together. So it is a little bit tricky, but of course we've seen fringe Liverpool sides do a better job of it than they managed, albeit, I always do come back to, probably how critical can we be as well, because they did get through in the end as well. So it's not a great performance, but I understand the reasons why, and at the end of the day, I think that team did its job, which is to get the name in the hat for the next round.
And it's probably worth with this looking at a few individuals. I mean, there's the real mix of the good, the bad, and the ugly with this. But we'll start on the best one. I mean, Federico Chiesa. To be fair, he was brilliant in this one, wasn't he?
Yeah, but I said his best performance since he joined Liverpool, and I probably stand by that, really. I just thought he was, everything he did with quality. He kind of, I didn't clock, actually, that the early Isak chance, it's his little, he gets a little knock on the ball to play it into space, which is really good. I thought it was Curtis Jones, and it kind of, but he gets a nice little flick on it to play him in for a one-on-one. So, it could have easily been 3 assists. I mean, the finish that he pulls off for the offside goal, he is quite a bit offside, but it's an unbelievable strike. So he was just at the heart of everything good that Liverpool did, and it's been unfortunate you've not said that of him since he's come to Liverpool. So, of course, you can't get too carried away. It's championship opposition. As we said, they made 9 changes themselves, but I think we hadn't seen this yet from him. And I think it's a really, huge positive that he's kind of, that he's starting to show something. And I think, he has done that in the Premier League already this season as well. So, I just think he makes this squad stronger if he's fit and firing. So, and it wasn't necessarily Liverpool's plan to keep him, but he's there. And I think it's, I think Liverpool are maybe going to think that that's maybe a little bit of a stroke of luck for them this season, because, he's helped them get through in this competition. He scored that winner in the Premier League. He was involved at Newcastle as well. The likelihood is that I think he'll come into the Champions League squad as well now. And he's just got potential to make things happen. He takes a lot of shots and he's involved. And if you do that, then you're probably going to score goals, which is what Liverpool need whenever they call on him. So, great to see that, because everyone likes him as well. So, it was a really, really good performance. He was my man of the match.
And you're right, you forget it was him that lays it off for Isak for that shot in the first minute, which you're probably thinking he should have scored. And even on the 77th minute, I'd forgot till I saw it this morning. It's his cross for Ekitike from the left that Ekitike should head in, but glances wide. So, he could have even had 4 assists there. He has that volley, which he catches sweet blocked at the same time. You can be too dramatic with this, but it's just fair to say since the start of this season, from the fleeting glances we've had, he just looks a little bit different somehow than last campaign, doesn't he?
Yeah, I wonder whether he's just a bit fitter and a bit sharper, and kind of the disappointment of last season and getting used to the Premier League intensity, is kind of giving him a bit of a kick, and he wants to prove his point. Because, at the end of the day, the fact he does stay, he has a big influence in that. It's very much a kind of, I want to stick around and prove a point here. So, he's going about it in the right way. It's not just all the things he did on the ball as well. His work rate was unbelievable. Dominic Szoboszlai-esque in terms of running around and closing down. And I know Slot said about he kind of wasn't happy with some of the players' work rate. Well, he definitely wasn't talking about Chiesa. I thought was outstanding in that regard as well. So, and you say he puts the cross in for Ekitike. He turns up on the left wing. He turns up in the 10 position on the right, all through the game. So he's so versatile. He's experienced. He gets shots. He sets people up, and he works his socks off. You're like, that is the basis of a very, very good player for Liverpool. Now, whether that means he can force Gakpo out the team sometimes, or get enough minutes that he'll be happy with, we'll have to see. But if you can keep that up, what we saw on Tuesday, then he's got a very, very good chance of playing a decent role this season. And I hope he does, because I think he seems like a great character as well.
Does. The more we seem to see of him, the more you kind of wonder, why isn't he seeing more minutes? So, yeah, long may that sort of theme continue. And you mentioned that Arne Slot wasn't exactly amused, let's call it that way. So just for anyone that's missed this in the post-match press conference, so you know what we're referring to, just have a quick listen to this bit where Arne Slot was pretty frank, it's fair to say.
For me, it's completely not a coincidence that Federico picked the ball and assisted on the first, because he was the one, in my opinion, that was most involved in the game, tried the most, worked the hardest. And then it wasn't a coincidence again that he was the man that made a deep run. Great ball by Robbo, by the way, who also has won so much at this club and also understands how to play this game. Not underestimated, just always be ready to play. And that's also the way to get yourself either back in the team or get as much playing minutes as you want. That's why I was happy with a few individual performances, but far from happy from a few other individual performances.
Can you elaborate on who you were far from happy with?
No, but I think these players, I think they know already.
I love the smile and the kind of wary glance at Beth Lindrup as he's answering the question there. Who's on the naughty list then, David? Who maybe got a few words, do you reckon, after this one?
I'm not sure, really. I didn't kind of, when I was watching the game, think anybody wasn't trying or anything like that. I think there were a few poor performances in there. Some were kind of just could not keep the ball whatsoever. Frimpong was bad for that. I thought Endo, just his second touch was a tackle constantly because he just couldn't seemingly control the ball. Although, weirdly, and I have to get this in, Endo won 12 out of 15 duels in that game, by the way, which is absolutely unbelievable. That is insane numbers, by the way. And he didn't play well at all, because I think he was kind of really poor with the ball, and that hurt Liverpool at times. But that is a crazy number. I just wanted to put that out there. But yeah, it didn't feel to me like it was kind of anyone wasn't working hard, but obviously the manager wasn't happy with a few of them. But I thought the quality was lacking. And for me, some of the kind of turnovers in possession, Gomez was guilty of that as well, actually. I felt like they were maybe more to do with the fact that this team didn't have an understanding between itself, rather than, laziness or anything like that, really. It was just kind of poor quality on the ball. But obviously the manager has seen something we've not seen. And goodness me, I trust his judgment far better than mine, that's for sure. But I didn't maybe notice it. And outside of those three I mentioned in terms of quality on the ball, I didn't feel like work rate was lacking. But, I'd have to watch it back, really, to see.
It was interesting because it was on the Sky, because I know it was on ITV at the same time when they were doing the commentary. They obviously had the boom mic next to some fan, and they were counting every time in like a minute period. We gave a pass away, and you could just hear the guy going 1, to, like, as we just kept passing it back to Southampton. And to be fair, it was pretty much the players that you mentioned there. And this is a strange one because there's been no mention of this player whatsoever. Mamardashvili makes a few good saves in this and doesn't do anything wrong, does he?
Yeah, you're right. Actually, it's not been talked about a lot, but I thought, it was a couple of really good saves. The best one is probably the one from Armstrong, the left-footed shot, which obviously could have ended in a goal there. And then, but I think what I liked the most is his handling was really good. Like a few crosses that came in, you thought might be dangerous, and he scoops them up in a very kind of Alisson way. You know, the ones that they bounce just in front of the goalkeeper and they make you a bit nervous, but his handling looked really good. And then he always wanted to get Liverpool off on the attack quite quickly because his throw-in's quite good. He might not be as good as Alisson with his feet, but he's really good when he's got the ball in his hands and can kind of throw it out to the wings. So, yeah, I thought a really positive performance from him. And I think he made a few decent saves in pre-season as well, doesn't he? So I just think he looks, another smart acquisition. And obviously, he's kind of waiting in the wings at the moment. But, you hope that Liverpool can get on a cup run to give him some games. And then, obviously, in a season, in maybe 2 seasons' time, he's going to be primed to take over from Alisson, isn't he? But I thought really, really encouraging competitive debut from him.
Huge presence as well. Dominated that box when they put it in a few times as well. So, yeah, maybe you do a good job. It doesn't get mentioned, but a lot to like there. And there was a lot to like in some ways about £200 million worth of strikers. So we'll start with Alexander Isak. I don't know why everyone was so obsessed with the fact he was doing a warm down at what was coming, but that's what he's paid to do. Get in the middle, took those chances away. Is that?
Oh, I think it's frozen a bit, but I think we're going to talk about... Sorry, it just froze a bit there, Dave. So, but I think it was about Isak, yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what he's paid to do, isn't he? Stick the ball in the net. That's what we wanted.
Exactly. That's why I thought it was an utter waste of money when he misses that early chance. But it was, he did get his second chance in the end and tucked it away. And I think, do you know what? I just like the way he finished it as well. I know it's so simple. It's kind of a tap in really once Chiesa does all the work of winning the ball and pulling it back. But he so calmly just passes it in, and he knows if he just gets a little bit of height on it, the keeper's going to put himself down to try and spread himself, and so he just lifts it enough and passes it in very, very calmly, and then you get your trademark celebration, which is great. But I also like that he acknowledged Chiesa as well, didn't he? Immediately turned around to point to him as well and say thank you very much for putting that on a plate. And I think it can only be a positive really that he's basically getting, he's got that first goal out the way. It's kind of the monkey off your back, isn't it? There's no pressure building on him whatsoever. He's already got that now. And I thought a decent performance from him as well. So, and it's more minutes in the tank, which is massive. So yeah, all looking good. Let's hope he can stay fit and get a few more of those between now and the end of the season.
It was looking good for Hugo Ekitike. Yes, he goes top scorer, which is great. Federico Chiesa lays it on a plate, although, as they were saying, as Arne Slot mentioned afterwards, he didn't give him the praise, but that's just an old school mentality. But then you're like, stupidity, wasn't it? Arne Slot said it. There's no other real word for it.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I thought Rich Jolly just gave him the words, didn't he? In the question, he said it was needless and stupid, and Slot completely agreed with him, which was fair enough. So, I mean, it just was really. I thought there's just no other explanation for it. He clearly just forgot in that moment, because this is still a rule in Germany that he'll be fully aware of, that you get a yellow card for taking your top off. So he'd clearly just forgotten. And I mean, great to see him get another, by the way. To focus on that quickly, I mean, 5 goals in 8 is absolutely unbelievable, isn't it? It's, if Isak had been putting up those numbers now, you'd be saying he's worth every penny at 125 million, and Ekitike cost significantly less. There were maybe some question marks over whether he could bring it from the Bundesliga, and yet he scored, 5 goals in 8 is incredibly impressive. And yeah, it was just interesting that Slot went so hard in him. I think, it was a moment of stupidity. He's apologised for it. I think he'll learn from it. But I think Slot was a bit more annoyed almost about the celebration itself, in terms of your mate's done all the work there with an unbelievable touch, and he squared it to you when he could have just passed it in himself. recognise that, be a team player rather than making it about you, particularly if it's going to get you a red card. So both really silly yellow cards, to be honest. And yeah, the only thing you can say about it is that, he will learn from it. And I'm pretty sure Liverpool fans will back him as well, because they did after that Núñez got a red card in an even more stupid way in his start of his Liverpool career. So, I'm sure it'll be quickly forgotten about.
It will be. And I don't know with this, because it was debated in a few WhatsApp groups, because Arne Slot does it, he talks about an old school manager. Is there a fine coming Ekitike's way, or do you think just a stern word?
Maybe. I mean, I don't know, because you don't tend to get, I don't know what it would come under in terms of their team rules or whatever. I think that's something that would have to be decided by the captain, because you're not going to get a fine in your wages every time you get a red card, because they can happen. And, how do you say, well, we give you, if you get a red card in a really stupid way, then we'll fine you. I don't think it will, it'll necessarily result in a fine, but I think, a stern word definitely, and a reminder that this cannot happen again. And I'm pretty sure it absolutely won't.
It was pretty funny as well, the way Andy Robertson was just laughing about it afterwards and saying he'd be very surprised if it wouldn't happen again, probably thinking, he's just been given it tight by Arne Slot. So positives, things that could be improved, maybe a rest for Ekitike at the weekend. We're going to talk about that.